Welcome to the Bruins Branders Podcast, Season 2, Episode 45, David Krejci's Legacy. And it's brought to you on the Inside the Rink Podcast Network, InsideTheRink.com. It's your one-stop shop for all your NHL and ECHL news, insight, and analysis. Follow on Twitter at inside_the_rink. Download the Inside the Rink app and subscribe to Inside the Rink's YouTube page to watch our episodes. On YouTube, Smitty will tell you about how to sign up for ESPN Plus.
You can sign up for ESPN Plus by going to the Inside the Rink website. Go to insidetherink.com/ESPN and sign up today. I have ESPN Plus, and I love all the Major League Baseball, soccer, college sports, UFC, and much, much more. Maybe not so much the baseball. I mean, the Red Sox kind of stink. But you can still sign up for ESPN Plus at insidetherink.com/ESPN for all your sporting needs.
Absolutely. So it's been a couple weeks since we've had an episode. What have you been up to?
Oh, a little of this, little of that.
Yeah, sure.
Busy, watching the Bruins arbitration stuff with Swayman and Frederic, and trying to keep track of the off season. So yeah, how about yourself? Anything new?
Went to the hospital for 5 days with a heart attack. So that was fun. Yeah, that was fun. Got home from coaching basketball camp the next morning, 6 a.m. Just had a heart attack, had some chest pain. So I implore people to get in shape, to eat right, to let's go to the doctor regularly, because that's important. But it was scary. One thing I love about the hospital, and I've never had a hospital stay until this week. So I've checked all the boxes now, and they will not let you sleep. Like, they say, hey, get some rest. And then an hour later, I'm going to take this blood, and I'm going to prick this finger, or I'm going to take this blood pressure. And actually, the nurse came in the first night, and I just had a heart attack. The first night she comes in, and I feel something going up my nose while I'm sleeping. And she's sticking the oxygen thing, the little strand of oxygen, the two little thingies, up my nostrils without alerting me. So I jump out of my skin. I'm like, Oh my God. And she's like, well, I'm sorry. I was just trying to do it without, waking you up. How would anyone not wake up unless they're in a coma with shit being up their nose? Like, that was
like a centipede crawling up your nose or something.
Yeah, right. I jumped out of my skin.
It is like that's like a horror movie waiting to happen.
It is. And I see her with the two little prongs, like in her hands. Like, it was like a horror movie.
It's really like Kathy Bates in Misery there, just ready to bust your ankles and start jamming stuff up your nose.
I didn't know if it was an animal with fangs or what the hell it was.
Like, maybe it was the Nashville Predators hockey team.
Might have been. Yeah, someone came with a Predators logo up my nose.
It was Roman Yossi. I think it was.
Yeah, it was. So we're back, and we're just better than ever, and we're ready to go.
Well, before you go, I'm certainly very, very grateful and happy that you are with us, and as much as it scared you, it scared all of us as well, all your friends and family. So happy to have you back, and both here doing something that we enjoy doing.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, it was the first time ever I thought to myself, I might die today. And that was really, really, really hard. But I'm seeing the doctor next week, and I'm on meds, and I didn't have to get a stent. So it was probably a really great wake up call that right. I'm willing to listen to.
Yeah.
To be
good.
frank with you.
Love it.
Yeah. All right, Seven Chirp, sponsored by Lops Brewing. Lops is a brewery and tasting room in downtown Woonsocket, Rhode Island, specializing in small batch ales and lagers, open 7 days a week. Use the coupon code SPORTS to get 10% off your online order. Go to lopsbrewing.com. Follow them at Lops Brewing for new beers and events. In Chirp 1, Jeremy Swayman gets a 1-year, $3.475 million deal in arbitration. Do they have too much invested in the goalies right now?
Probably. They probably do, but if you don't have center depth, which they don't, I feel like you need to be strong up the middle. If you don't have a center, that's goalie, and that's defense. So they do have two really good goalies, and they do have McAvoy and Lindholm and Carlo and some guys. So it's going to be goaltending and defense. this year, I think, more than anything, trying more to keep the puck out of the net than maybe outscore people. So, I think even though they're probably spending a little too much at that position, it's probably going to end up being a strength of theirs this season.
It's back to the old Claude Julien days. Win 0-0.
Yeah.
Win 0-0, baby. Yeah, that's going to be great. And Swayman has said all the right things afterwards, says that, he has no ill will. He understands the business. I think it'll work out in the end. I'm really interested to see what happens next off season, because you're not going to go, he's going to be up again, and you're not going to go with Allmark at $5 million and Swayman. Someone's going to have to go. So it's really interesting to see how they'll play that out. And of course, a lot of it will have to depend on who performs well this coming season. Chirp 2, Trent Frederic signs a 2-year, $4.6 million deal after arbitration. A good deal if he produces again, but that's not necessarily a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee. He had a career year, and he was playing with really good line mates. The Bruins had a lot of depth, so he was playing with some really good players on the third line. He might not get that same level of teammates, I guess, on that third line. So you may see that production dip a little, and if so, it's not a great contract. I was hoping that it would come in a little under 2, but with some of the deals that went out to some of the other guys that were in his same kind of ballpark area, the deal seems pretty fair overall. So hopefully Freddie can continue to build on what he did last year and kind of live up to this new contract.
Yeah, and I'm worried about, he played with Hall and he played with some good offensive players. If you just kind of throw him out there with not offensive type players, I think the production is going to go down. I was a little surprised at the 2-year thing. If he's a bottom 6 guy, the 2.3 a year, isn't that a little? I don't know. I mean, I've never been as high on Freddie as other people. Like, he was my whipping boy. I still have that thing in the back of my head where this is kind of an aberration, and I hope it doesn't. I hope he can produce again this year and play as well again this year, and maybe he will. But I don't know. The 2-year thing was a little weird to me. And I really hope that he's playing with people who will, bring out his offensive game again a little bit. And if he's going to be a top 6 guy, then, he's going to have to produce even more than he did. So and I don't know if he can really do that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. All right, Chirp 3. David Krejci is likely to retire from hockey except for the 2024 World Championships. Is he a top 10 Bruin of all time? He's 9th in points, 5th in games and assists.
He's right on the cusp. I mean, how many numbers are retired? There's quite a few up there already.
There are, but you know what? People say that, and I'm like, you know what? That doesn't mean that this guy wasn't better. Like, this doesn't, you know what I mean? Like,
because Bergeron will be in there.
Yeah, sure.
And Marchand will be in there,
right,
at some point too.
Right.
So I would say both of those guys probably are better than Krejci.
Yeah, but Pastrnak will be too.
Yeah, and Pastrnak will be too. And then you have to add in, Orr, Bork, Busick, Neely, Espo, Schmidt. So he's right on. I would say if he's not cracking the top 10, he's just on the outside looking in. So to me, he's right in like the 13, 12, 11, 10 range, like somewhere in there, I would say.
Yeah, I liken him to like a Wayne Cashman type. Like, he played a long time, similar numbers. And along that vein, I will say this though: I think Krejci is not getting enough credit because he's not a Bruin type of player. I've said this a million times. He's not a Bruin type of player. So I think there's some people who just won't give him the benefit of the doubt because he's not a big bad Bruin. He's not physical. He's not all this other stuff. So he takes a little bit of a back seat in some fans' eyes because of that, which I don't think is fair because I think he's excellent. I think he was a really, really good player, especially in the postseason. And if you factor that in, then that bumps him a couple spots, in my opinion. But you're right. With guys like Pastrnak and Marchand, he's going to keep slipping down. Yeah. So right now I got him in the top, dozen to 13 too. Although I really want to put him in the top 10 because I think he deserves more credit. if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, he's still underrated. He's still underrated. He's still an underrated player. Like I think you're right. He doesn't really get enough credit, and he probably should be kind of in there in the 9-10 range. But it just it is. I think it's maybe the style of play, and then he doesn't have a big personality. He's a pass first guy, doesn't talk all that much. He's from a different country and all that stuff. So I think that probably all hurts him a little bit, even though it shouldn't. And like you said, 9th all time in games. What is it? 9th all time.
Yeah,
in games?
9th in points, 5th in games, and 5th in assists.
Yeah. So I mean,
pretty good.
He certainly deserves to be in the conversation, without a doubt.
Yeah. With no question. All right, Chirp 4. Overall, do you like the Bruins off season?
Yeah. I guess so.
Yeah.
If they have a plan,
right?
If next off season they go out and make a splash at center, like there's a ton of big name free agents. We were talking about this a little bit after the last episode. Like, they should make a legitimate run for Austin Matthews. Now, that deal will probably get done with Toronto before he reaches free agency. But if it doesn't, that solves a lot.
Oh my God, a lot of
problems. Of their problems.
Right.
So, if they have a plan, and if they make a move to get a top line center next offseason, then I can live with the fact that they spent, $1 million on all these vets to kind of bridge the gap for a year until they could, have the cap space to really make a good run at somebody. If you weren't signing Tyler Bertuzzi to a 5-year, $6 million a year deal in order to save that cap space to make a legitimate run at a guy like Matthews or William Nylander or, Elias Lindholm, if that's your plan, then fine, I can live with it. I'm all in next year if you're making a run at one of those guys. But if you're still kind of not sure what you're gonna do next year, and you're gonna spend your money evenly amongst a few guys to get some depth, and not really answer the fact that Bergeron and Krejci are missing, and I'm not crazy about what they did this year. So it really kind of depends on what they do going forward, in my eyes.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same way. I don't mind it, but I just feel like this was the off season to take a risk, to do something else, like to do something. And they really kind of still danced around it. They had to trade somebody, so they traded Hull, which is the right choice. He's 31. He only had 36 points. I don't think he's going to get better. Like, it's $6 million. It was an easy way to lop off $6 million. So I get that. But other than that, they really, they got some 1-year deals, and they got some veterans, and they didn't really they didn't trade. They didn't try to trade, or they didn't trade Grzelcyk or Forward or do anything risky. They sort of still stayed in their lane there. So I'm with you. Just like the Tavares stuff, a few years ago, they should be in on Matthews if he's available, or whoever is available as a top-priced guy. Sweeney cannot afford to miss the playoffs. Like, he can't. So if they miss the playoffs this year, I'm not sure what will happen. Like, they have all this cap money. Will Jacobs give him another year to say, okay, you have a mulligan? Like, okay, you can do this. You had to sort of change the landscape of the roster, so you missed the playoffs. Okay, so now you get another chance to spend the money and make the changes you need to make. I don't know, because typically the Jacobs do not like to miss the playoffs. That's first and foremost. So it's a lot on them. They don't have a ton of depth, either. So it's especially at center. So I don't know. I really wish they would have tried to do something a little bit more risky to change the roster. But all right, chirp number 5, a report from Phil Carter. Phil is a reporter out of Weymouth in Massachusetts. So I don't know the validity of this, but we're going to bring it up anyway. Washington called on Jake DeBrusk. Bruins want to see how he does this season. Is this the right move to take it into the season with DeBrusk at UFA?
I believe it is. I think you want to see him perform again with, without Bergeron, to see if last season was more of an aberration, or if his trajectory is kind of trending in the right direction. At times, I thought he was the play driver on that line because Marchand was still kind of getting his feet back underneath him. And Bergeron, is getting up there a little bit in years, so and doesn't really have the speed. He makes all the smart plays, but who's driving the offense on that line? And I thought for a large part of the year it was Jake. So I'm not ready to give up on a guy who can score like he does. He's a 30 goal scorer potentially every year, and he's still young. So, what's Washington going to give you in return? Not anything great. Their roster kind of blows, honestly. It's not like they're going to give you, TJ Oshie, who's getting up there in years or anything like that. So, or Backstrom. So, I feel like rolling the dice at this point is the right move.
Yeah, I do too. I think they'll get a deal done with DeBrusk. I would think so. I mean, I think I don't know what type of year he'll have without a really good playmaking center. Like I don't know. I mean, that's another guy who I hope it doesn't tail off, and they probably want to see if he can legitimately do it with Zacha or somebody else, Coyle. If he can still produce. I just don't want you to get to that end of the season where the negotiations get a little tight and you lose them for nothing. I don't want that. But I think they'll eventually get a deal done, and it could be an extension during the season. If maybe they want to just have him couple months, see how it's going. If he's playing really well, extend him, and maybe that's how they do it. Number 6, which contract is the worst in the Bruins roster right now?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would say probably for years in production, even though I like the player, I'd probably say Coyle.
Yes, I was right on it, and I actually just wrote an article and submitted it that's going to come out tomorrow morning, and I wrote about Coyle because Coyle has 3 years left.
Yeah,
he can submit an 8-team no-trade list until 2025, and he makes 5.25.
He does
for 45 points. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's had 50 points once, 2016-17 with Minnesota. He had that really good playoff when he first came over, 16 points, 24 games, like during the cup finals run. And I like Coyle. And I think as we talked about this a million times, third line center, perfect. Second line center, no. Like I'm just not. So if you're thinking about centers, 5.25 for 40 points. I think he's a guy that they can move on from, and maybe they will in the off season. Who knows?
Yeah, he's a little bit overpaid, I think, for what he does and what he brings to the table. But like you said, you like him, I like him. I think now is his opportunity. Now he's going to get every chance in the world to show what he can do, because he's going to be a top 2 center, maybe even the top center. Who knows? Maybe he'll end up playing with Marchand and DeBrusk. I probably would put him there so that Zacha stays with Pastrnak. But we'll see. We'll see what comes of it. He is responsible defensively, and that certainly helps his case. He's a good penalty killer. So he can do some things, but the production really needs to be there if you're making that kind of money.
Yeah, it does. And especially now, like, they can't afford to be, overpaying guys. And I think it's a slight overpay. I mean, I think, and it's by slight, I mean, probably should be making Zacha money, probably in there or, right around there, which is only $1 million less.
Probably a little under, honestly.
Probably a little under that, which is only $1 million and a half less, but for over 3 years, that's, and then he has the no trade list. So it is a tough contract in that you don't want to really get on the guy because he's a good player.
He is,
but he's a victim of his own contract.
He is,
and that's what makes you kind of look sideways at him. All right, in chirp number 7, Jimmy Murphy of Boston Hockey Now wrote that a lack of a number 1 center might be Don Sweeney's downfall. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that could be the case. Certainly, I think if like we talked about a little bit earlier, if you sign this collection of veterans and then go into next off season and don't make a hard push for a number 1 center, whether it's in free agency or via trade, then then you're leaving yourself open to a ton of criticism if the Bruins start to, slide down the standings or don't make the playoffs, God forbid. So he certainly will leave himself wide open to some serious criticism if he can't get a hold of a number one center and kind of Phil Bergeron's, Krejci's, hold in the lineup.
Yeah, and it's I feel like they were so after the defenseman, the puck moving defenseman, the left shot defenseman, and they put a lot of eggs in those baskets, and rightfully so. But I think it is going to be his downfall if they don't make the playoffs. I think it's going to be, he may be in jeopardy of losing his job. I'm not 100% sure, but here's a guy I haven't really seen much on, and that's Georgi Merkulov. Like I haven't really heard anything about him in the last. And I feel like he is a guy that, maybe they think can step in there. Just have to see training camp and haven't mentioned much about it. But I feel like I haven't gotten any updates really about him, and I'm not sure. Maybe they think that he can be a guy that can come in and produce.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel like the upper management and maybe Montgomery as well thinks that there are some young guys that can really crack the lineup, that can make some that show well in the preseason and can crack the lineup and produce. I think Merkulov's one of those guys. I think Lauko is definitely one of those guys. I think if you could throw Steen in there as well, maybe McLaughlin, maybe Lysell if he had a strong camp coming off what I think many would call kind of a down year a little bit. So I think the management certainly thinks that there are some guys there that can maybe step in and solve some of their, scoring or playmaking problems.
Yeah, for sure. DraftKings Sportsbook, Boston's hometown sportsbook, is live right here in Massachusetts. Bet local on all your favorite sports from the comfort of your own home with DraftKings. To celebrate, all new customers will receive up to $200 in bonus bets when you sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook using code ITR. You can now bet local on money lines, spreads, props, and more with one of America's top-rated sportsbooks, DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the code ITR to get up to $200 in bonus bets to use now that mobile sports betting is live in Massachusetts. That's code ITR only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
If you or a loved one is experiencing problems with gambling, call 800-327-5050 or visit helplinema.org to speak with a trained specialist free and confidentially 24/7. 21 plus, physically present in Mass. Eligibility restrictions apply, subject to regulatory licensing requirements. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as free bets. Terms at DraftKings.com/MA.
All right, a Bender's poll this week. David Krejci is 5th in games played and assists all time as a Bruins player, 9th in points. Do you think he's a top 10 Bruin of all time? And we had yes and no, 192 votes. No came in at 37% and yes at 63%, which I'm kind of surprised about. Really.
I'm surprised about it, but I'm kind of happy about it too at the same time. Because I think, like we said, he probably kind of deserves to be there at the back end of the top 10. I think there's probably some recency bias there. Some people haven't seen some of the older guys that have played. There's not a lot of guys in their 60s and 70s that are enjoying the podcasts. And so they may not know, Terry O'Reilly or Milt Schmidt or Johnny Busick or Phil Esposito.
Right.
So there may be a little recency bias there, but I'm happy that Krejci snuck in there in the top 10.
I am too, and I'm looking forward to David Krejci night and that whole thing. And do you think his number goes up?
Probably.
You think so?
Yeah, okay. I think they will. I mean, he won a cup. Okay. He played his entire career with Boston. Yeah. Over 1,000 games, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he will. I don't think anybody else will wear 46. I think there's guys up there that have done less than he's done. So I certainly think he deserves to be up there.
Yeah, I would. It would be nice if he does. I really hope so. Because I think he deserves a lot of credit because he was a number one center when they won the cup.
Sure.
Like
sure
he was the driver there. I mean, postseasons 2010, he doesn't get hurt God knows what happens there. I mean, he might have had back-to-back friggin' cups and
Yeah.
MVPs and all sorts of stuff. So, but he was very, very good when he was, in his prime. September 13th is rookie camp. Anyone that you're looking forward to seeing there, and anybody you think, here's this. Who's your pick to click? Who you think is going to make the roster as a young rookie, hasn't been a pro yet?
Oh, hasn't been a pro yet?
Or hasn't been with the Bruins yet?
I don't know if there's anybody that is in that rookie camp that will make the roster that hasn't been with the Bruins. You know what? I'll say Mason Lohrei. I think. You
think Lohrei will?
I think Lohrei has a chance. There's some the bottom end of the defense core isn't fantastic, and I think Lohrai's big. He can skate. So I think he could be a guy. I think Merkulov could be a guy. But outside of those two, I think there aren't really as many spots available as people would think. So I think maybe one of those two guys. But I feel like Lauko will have a spot. But he's played some games with the Bruins already.
Yeah, Frederic Brunet is going to play. It looks like he may play with the Providence Bruins this season. So that's a guy who's been really climbing the charts quickly from a 5th round pick to really being one of the top prospects now. He's probably in the top 10, 12 now.
Sure.
As prospects with the Bruins, and has a lot of offensive skill as a defenseman. He's got good size. Like, that's a guy, hopefully, that'll continue to improve. The prospect challenge is in Buffalo again. Mm-hmm. Friday, Saturday, and Monday, the 15th, 16th, and 18th of September. So you can see, I think you can see that. I think it's streamed by the Sabres, isn't it? Wasn't it last year?
Yeah, I believe it was streamed by the Sabres last time. So, and it's possible you could catch a couple of those things on like the NHL Network or something like that.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. $10 if you want to go to Buffalo. $10 for tickets.
You know what? If we weren't going to be in Jamaica, I say we should.
Right. Yeah, Jamaica, Buffalo, close, but I think we'll be in Jamaica. And then training camp begins September the 20th, so just over a month away. And it'll be Bruins hockey again. And it'll be season 3 of the Bruins Benders podcast. We've had 93 episodes. And I just realized that this is season 2, episode 45, probably should have been 46 for Krejci.
Yeah, we blew that one.
Probably blew that one. Yeah, maybe we'll do another Krejci.
Who was 45? Was there Sandy Moger?
45 was Sandy Moger.
We do a Sandy Moger episode.
Yeah, quick? Sandy Moger episode. Maybe we should do that at some point. Like, just do a quick blurb about someone who wore that number.
We should do a whole episode on a random Bruin.
Random Bruin.
In the off season, we'll just have people write in and say, "Hey, who would you like to hear about?"
Yeah. Let's just talk. We'll just talk about our experience with.
And let us know who you want to hear about, and we'll do our best to fill you in on the Sandy Mogers and the Joseph Stumples of the world.
Yeah, Mariusz Czerkowski and those
Rosie Rujichka.
Rosie, he was something for a short period of time there.
Charlie Simmer.
Yeah, Charlie Simmer couldn't skate a lick.
Nope.
But we'll get that again with Milan Lucic, so that'll be good. Lumbering down the side. Get it going.
Okay, here's DraftKings is a sponsor, so here's a quick thing. I want to throw this out there to you. Odds that Milan Lucic fights in the home opener.
Oh my God, it's 1-1. I think. Yeah. I think you have to put like $1,000 to win a penny. Yeah. On that one, because he's throwing down with somebody. Who are they playing?
I don't know. Is it Chicago? They open with Chicago, Pittsburgh.
Do they open with Washington?
Washington.
I got it here. It's let's see. They open with the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
They open with Taylor Hall and Nick Foligno. Oh, did you go with Foligno? Does he go with Fliggy the first night? I bet they call each other and say, "We're going." There's the one right there. Foligno and Lucic opening night.
You got to wager $1,000 to win 10.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, they're going. Foligno and Lucic, absolutely. The place would go bananas. Like that.
I 100% believe that he's fighting somebody on opening night, and the place is going to go berserk.
Yeah, first time he's on the ice with this fucking humpback, fucking
Yeah.
up and down the ice, just
Oh.
fucking banging people.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
gonna
no
try to
question.
he's gonna be trying to put people through the glass. There's no doubt about it on that
Yeah.
first shift. What now? Whether he can catch anybody, that's a different
Right.
story.
Well, here's the other. Here are a couple other over unders. Over under how many games he plays this season.
He's pretty durable, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he is. I mean,
unless
they scratch the guy.
Yeah, I don't think he gets scratched all that often. I'm going to say over 70.
Over 70. Okay, so last year he had 77. You're right. Actually, he is durable. He's played 77, 82, 79, 82, 82, 81. Wow. He's really durable.
I should have gone over 75 then.
Yeah, geez, he might be over 75. Okay, how many points for Luch? He had 19 last year. He's had no more than 20 since 2017-18.
25.
Okay.
25.
So he gets 25 points. Okay.
Yeah. I think he's going to be juiced up to come back. I think he wants to be back here. I think the fans love the guy. I think that'll bring out the best of him. I don't know how good he'll do on the road, but at home, he's going to be really good. I think for the Bruins.
He is. I mean, he's going to be amped. He's going to be really good.
So I feel like he's gonna crack 10 goals. I think he's gonna score more than 10 goals, and like a 10 goal, 15 assists type of thing out of him.
Yeah, I mean, this is what he's wanted for the last 5 years or so, whatever he said. So he's gonna come out and show it. I'm sure. It's just over the course of, I mean, can he produce even some? I mean, he'll probably be on the fourth line quite a bit. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't mind him out there with Beecher and a guy with some speed who bangs with him. Like, not the worst thing. I mean, I'm interested to see how he'll do. I just think there's a lot of romanticism going on, but
there is.
Oh well, makes it fun.
Yeah.
All right, go to InsideTheRink.com for Bruins Benders merchandise. Follow on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook at Bruins Benders. Subscribe to the Inside the Rink YouTube page and give us a rate and review on Apple. Haven't had one in a while, and you can actually catch our podcast on all platforms and on the Inside the Rink YouTube page. We are done for this week. We will be back again soon with another episode. Thanks a lot for listening. Go Bruins.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.